Hey, podcaster, I'm Tim Alberg, your podcast performance coach, with another actionable tip so you can grow your authority and convert with ease. Today's tip is don't stay stuck on your podcast plateau. The only way to get off your plateau is to do something different. If you're stuck and you're feeling like your show is going nowhere, nothing's changing, you're getting the same numbers, and you just don't seem to be getting the results you want, you've plateaued. And there's one way for you to fix this problem, and that is to figure out what's wrong. Oh, now that seems like a ridiculous thing to say, you jackass, because how can you figure out what's wrong if you don't know what you don't know? So what do most podcasters do? Well, they think, I just need to hit my calls to action harder. I need to be selling more through the podcast. I need to push more. I need to be asking for more. I need to be telling my listeners what to do. And yes, it's important for you to help them take that next step. But what happens sometimes is that you go off the desperate deep end. You tip from being a podcast that has good information to a podcast that feels like an onslaught of buy this, download that, do this, go here, get this. And it creates the feeling from a listener's point of view that they're being sold to more than they're being served. Now, this is a familiar story to us because we've just helped a client out of this rut. I'm going to tell you the 5 things we helped her with and how they might help you. But here's what was happening with her. She was about 40 episodes in, and she had a ton of great information to share. And when she first started, the whole point of her show was to grow her audience and build her email list, because she knew once she got people on her email list, she could sell to them. But what ended up happening is that she hit this plateau. Nothing seemed to be growing anymore. So she just spent the entire show trying to monetize the show by selling directly from each and every episode. So much so that you couldn't go a couple of minutes without her mentioning another thing to buy or download or join or subscribe to or visit. But nobody was taking any action. Nothing was happening. No results. This is when she realized she didn't know what she didn't know. Sometimes we need a different perspective, a professional perspective to help us get us out of the hole that we find ourselves in if we feel stuck, when we've plateaued. Through our work with her, we identified 5 things that we helped her with. I'm going to share them with you in case 1, 2, or all 5 of them move the needle for you too. By the way, this was done through our podcast tune-up program. She went to podcastperformancecoach.com, took a look at the program, and she knew immediately it was for her. So she signed up and we got to work. The first thing was getting clear on her why. I touched on this already. We got back to the initial goal of growing her email list. Big difference between selling on her show compared to marketing her other offers. And the best thing about this metric is that it's trackable. The second thing was niching down. She was talking to photographers about running a photography business, but there was an opportunity to niche down even more. She had huge success building her business in a certain photography niche, but she wasn't positioning herself clearly in the photography landscape of podcasts. So we tweaked the name of her show by adding it to her title. Simple. When it comes to niching, think small to get big. The third thing we did was to look at the structure of the podcast. Her episodes didn't have a lot of structure, so we were able to help her see the value to the listener when you are able to present the information clearly by following a format. We gave her a template to use and she made it her own. And now her episodes are much more consumable. The listener is taken care of from the first word to the very last word. The fourth thing is performance. And in this case, it was a matter of speaking too fast, or so we thought. We thought she was in the habit of speaking really fast, not pausing, going from one thought to the next thought. And it was just hard to listen to because you never got a moment to take in what she was saying. It turns out it was a combination of talking only just a little bit too fast and an editor who took out every single gap in the recording. It made her sound manic. It was kind of hard to listen to. It was the old drinking from the fire hose metaphor. So that was something that was really easily remedied by changing the way the show was edited and sitting back, taking a breath, and allowing what feels more like a conversation to happen, even on solo episodes. And the last thing, number 5, was we recommended a better mic and showed her how to use it. Now she sounds 100 times better, and more importantly, she matches her level of expertise. Okay, so these were just 5 things that came up through the podcast tune-up process for her. Number 5, a new mic. Number 4, performance and editing. Number 3, tightening her episode structure. Number 2 was niching down. And number 1, and if there's only one thing you take away from this episode, is more serving, less selling. These 5 things were able to get her off that plateau and see her show start to grow again. Would they be the same things for you? Probably not. Everyone is different. And that's why the podcast tune-up is so fantastic, because it does customize for each individual show. So if you want to get off your podcast plateau and want to see your show start to grow again and serve your business again, then consider the podcast tune-up, because you don't know what you don't know. Look, you're an expert in your field, and you could probably figure out what's wrong with everything to do in your field. You have all of that knowledge base, but you don't when it comes to podcasting. And that's why it helps to bring in someone who does have that know-how, someone from the outside who can really see what's going on with your podcast. And I hope that's just the tip you need. This is exactly what we do with the podcast tune-up. So if you're interested, head to the website, check out the podcast tune-up, and we'd be happy to help you get off your podcast plateau. If you want to talk about it before you get started, book a free coaching call, and let's see if we'd be a good fit together. I don't work with people I don't think I can help. The link to the tune-up and to the 15-minute free coaching call are in the show notes, or simply go to podcastperformancecoach.com. I'm Tim Walberg. See ya!